I just want to thank the distinguished speakers for joining us today. And the session today will be the future of digital lending, redefining payments infrastructure. So this session is part of the 28th Convergence India Expo, and the organizers are the India Trade Promotion Organization and Exhibitions India. This year is also the hybrid edition, so we're doing this virtually, as you can see that. Our distinguished speakers today are Mr. Abhishek Arun, CEO of Paytm Payments Bank, Mr. Akash Sinha, co-founder and CEO CashFree, Mr. Kunwar Raj, co-founder and CEO Invoid, Mr. Rohit Taneja, CEO Decentro, and Mr. Anand Vaidya, Regional Business Head, Advanced AI. And the moderator for today's session is Mr. Abhishant Pant, and I'm going to hand it over to you right now. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jed, and thanks a lot to all of you for joining in this conversation. Good to see so many familiar faces and connecting with all of you. Bahut behtrin. So it's good to get started. Yeah. So obviously, basics from which possibly we can start this conversation is about giving a brief view of who you are, what you are doing, and then maybe we'll take a segue to the topic as such. And so a brief view about who you are and what is your view on the topic, which is essentially on payments infrastructure. And then we'll go into the next round of conversation. So maybe alphabetically शुरू कर लेते हैं अभिषेक भाई, जैसा हमारे साथ में चोट होती थी बचपन में, that our name will always come first, so we'll always be the guinea pig for the world. So over to Abhishek.
So thank you so much, Nishant. I remember class days where you had multiple Abhisheks in the class, but then you had Abhishek Arun adding the next piece to it. So I had 5 Abhisheks in my class, but I was always number 1. So it was always a challenge. So here is, you put me back into the, limelight from that perspective. I think the interest or the top, I'll start with myself. My name is Abhishek Arun. I'm currently the Chief Operating Officer for Paytm Payments Bank. Been with Paytm for the last 5 years, about 20 years of consumer banking experience. Now deep into payments of all kinds and stuff, given the fact that Paytm is at the center stage of a lot of payment work. This topic is very relevant and important overall. I think of the payment infrastructure as a public good or the railroad on which a lot of things are working on. And interestingly, the government or India has using JAM and the entire architecture on the payment side, or the payments architecture or infrastructure as we call it, is the impetus being provided for financialization, digitization, and interestingly now anybody who is doing any kind of even commerce is technically becoming a fintech, because the payment infrastructure is getting used by everybody. So the days of banks trying to become a fintechs trying to become a bank, is now becoming commerce companies or anybody or everybody who's serving a customer, and there is a payments leg to it, is part and parcel of this. And it's no longer just a group of limited number of people working in this area. This is now very, very mass and wide. And in the context of what's happening, whether it's the NUE or a lot of work which NPCI has done, this has become center stage. And so very, very, action oriented on a day-to-day basis. I haven't seen the last 3-4 years and so December 31st or beginning of January has always been kind of low in terms of work. But whether you look at FASTag going live on Jan 1st or demonetization hitting in November, December, in the last couple of years, payments has been an area of great interest and work. And I think this infrastructure piece will only further strengthen, and a lot more work is being done and can be done. So I'm very excited about it.
Sure. Thanks, Abhishek. And so, Anand, of course, while you are observing all of it, so just brief intro about who you are and then your initial remarks on this topic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Abhishek, for your time, and thank you, everyone. So my name is Anand Vaidya. I have around 13 years of experience. I am the business head at Advanced AI. So not many people know about Advanced AI. So we are a Singapore-based company. We were one of the applicants for the digital banking license in Singapore, and we are in 6 countries and we have more than 1,000 employees. So I'll bring some sort of Southeast Asian flavor also as far as the payments discussion is going on. So I agree with the previous respected speaker spoke about payments infrastructure, and since we have some access to the Southeast Asian network, so in fact they are trying to replicate what we are having here, whether it is Aadhaar. I mean, Indonesia is talking about having Aadhaar sort of card which can be taken across the villages, where we have actually seen that the identity of the complete village is stolen. So that is, I mean, we have heard about KYC frauds which are happening in individual level in India. I mean, you get the QR code and you sign the QR code and the money goes out. In Indonesia, you have complete villages identity getting stolen. In Philippines, the NSDL is extremely active as far as the KYC and other things are concerned. So there are a lot of Indian companies who are making a mark in Southeast Asia as far as the technology is concerned, and clearly the Indian payment infra is world class. I mean, in addition to the previous speaker, we are talking about LSP and AA coming into the picture, and all that sort of things that will clearly take the digital payments to the next level in 2021 and 2022. So that's all from my side.
Yeah, thanks Anand. So Akash, obviously आप दुनिया को कैश फ्री कर रहे हैं, एंड आकाश की ऊंचाइयों पर इन एनी केस आप AR और AP को लेकर के जा ही रहे हो. So from your initial remarks point of view, what do you think cash freeze is building on from a payments infra point of view, and how do you think this payment infra is going to evolve? I think you are on mute, or your voice is not.
Yeah, I was on mute. Thank you again, Abhishek, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, my name is Akash. I'm founder and CEO of Cashfree. So thanks for inviting me in this panel. See, from our perspective, we are here in the journey for the last 6 years, right? But still we feel we are on the day one. Every year, every 6 months, we see a lot of changes in terms of regulation, in terms of business demand, in terms of consumer behavior. We always have to do things from scratch at a lot of times, right? We have been in the industry, as I said, for the last 5 years. We built tools around payment collection. We have built tools around payment dispersal. We are pioneers in the industry for payouts, cash cow. We also launched instant refund, right? And that is the direction we have taken. How do we build a robust payment infra which can help businesses? They should just be worrying about their product, customer service, and leave payments to the experts eventually. Right, so right from payment processing, and payment processing you have payment collection. And payment collection has multiple channels, right? It could be a website, it could be an app, it could be your offline, it could be recurring payment, it could be via BBPS. Right, so channels are also growing, right? And after NUE, new umbrella entity, I'm sure there could be a couple more modes coming out in the market, right? So how can we as a company build an infra? We can aggregate all the popular modes or all the modes which people prefer to pay by, and make it very simple for merchants to integrate and go live in the market, right? So the play has changed from just being offline or just being online to help businesses collect their payment, right? The payment collection is a problem, not like building a payment gateway or doing a POS machine, right? That story is old now. You can't go so low level, right? You have to be a little level above, right? So the intent should be I'm helping you collect the revenue on time and also giving best experience to your customers. That is on the collection side. Secondly, also the disbursal side, with the increase in transactions, right? With the increase in, say, the time people pay to their vendors or to their customers in a lot of cases, right? So that area is also seeing a good automation, right? So and the intent is to empower businesses to do things at a extremely cheaper cost, do things at a very reliable way, and do things in a very efficient way, right? So along with collection, disbursal also becomes a very important aspect for many online first businesses. Right, and obviously a lot of offline businesses are also adopting, right? I mean, they are first improving their stack, they are first taking digital, and then also coming on the disbursal part. So these are the layers which are building for the merchant, right? Now a lot of things happen in the back end to it, right? Once call hits Cashfree, right? There are things we do in the back end, right? Talking to Visa, talking to clearing house like NPCI, talking to some kind of switch. So that's the another area where we are innovating a lot, right? We are trying to see what are the stacks we can build. Right? How do we depend less and less on third party and build or give a very quality experience to the end users eventually? right? So the intent is to remove or reduce number of hops that go from cash free to the issuer bank, right? Try to be as close as possible, and so that we can give good experience to the customer by looking at the data and eventually using intelligence there, right? So our infra should not be just making or moving points from A to B, right? It should also add predictability, right? If the predictability is low, that infra is not as useful as people expect it to be. And to make infra predictable, you have to use intelligence a lot of times, right? Given that a lot of moving pieces, you have more than 100 issuers in the market, and a lot of fluctuations happen all the time, right? How do we keep customers up to date? How do you optimize payment mode for them, right? I mean, should you use credit card, just taking the insights of PNB, or should you use credit card of the SBI at a given point of time?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's
Makes
how
sense.
we have taken.
Yep, makes sense. So, while Cashfree is building the payment infra on small businesses and other side, Kumar, you are essentially building an infra from an identity point of view as Invoid and so on and so forth. So, how do you see you playing a role in payment infra as a journey? And any initial remarks at your end?
Great. Thank you so much for inviting me over. So, quick introduction. My name is Kumar Raj. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Invoid. And we are essentially helping companies automate identity verification and implement financial decisioning in their existing mobile apps or platforms in the easiest way possible. So you're correct. I mean, our role typically comes before, let's say, a payment happens or before a dispersal happens. It's usually in the onboarding journey. So, with the increasing focus and emergence of digital finance, right, with neobanks coming up, cross-border payments becoming very crucial, lending, investment platforms, everything is becoming digital. The need to establish someone's digital identity remotely has never been greater as the volume of online and mobile payments reaches historic high. Right. So our role is essentially to ensure that, the users who are, making the payments or getting access to these financial services are actually sort of authentic users, and complying with, let's say, regulations or KYC just not does not just entail one check, but rather a series of processes that ensure that the verification of an individual's identity and an analysis of their suitability to use these financial services is important, right? So interestingly, like all of the panelists mentioned, it's not just financial services anymore. We're seeing more and more industries adopt identity framework in their workflow, probably edtech, healthcare companies, even matrimonial companies. So they don't want to interact or get customers on their platform which are not verified or authentic. So we as a company, we are working on a 5-step framework where, let's say, we start from a basic check of their identity to a document verification, plus we add a layer of selfie or video checks. Then we are also building on financial health checks of the user to ensure that they are financially stable. And then there is obviously the final element where the service is to be dispersed to them. So, payment is one aspect which is, driving the digital adoption. So we feel that our role as an enabler has become very important, and as systems are, as government is pushing towards stricter regulations, we need to be as easy to use as possible to ensure that the onboarding journey or verification is not hectic, so that the customer friction is not there and their convenience is taken into account.
Thanks, Kumar. And identity truly is an important piece. Who would essentially, and again, from a Shadi.com or Bharat Matrimony point of view, it again becomes an interesting piece, not just from a payments infra point of view. So thanks for giving your view. So Rohit, in last, but of course, you are building something which obviously all of them need at one or the other point of time as an API infra, overall infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So how has been the journey and an initial view on what is it which you are doing?
Sure. Thanks, Akshan. Hey everyone, good to connect. I think we are the youngest in terms of the history of the companies, so to say. It's like less than 1 year old as a company, so fairly early in the journey, and of course, long roadmap ahead. So on the banking infra, what we're doing, and a couple of the points were touched by Akash as well. I think the distinction between the bank's API quality and what the fintechs and infrastructure players like us and a couple of others in the market provide has never been higher, right? So if you look at any of the banking APIs out there, the banks actually take pride in saying that, okay, hey, we have 400 plus APIs, right? While it is actually the other way around. I mean, that is the last thing that you should be saying. It's like saying, okay, I have 400 crappy cars in my backyard. Right? Nobody's excited by that, right? Rather, I would be excited by 10 wonderfully working Ferraris in the front yard, right? So I think that is the clear difference that's coming in. And the good thing is the banks realize that they're not really in the business of delivering API; they're more in the business of building their own solutions. And it's a testament, right? I mean, you will look at across the world, right? You will not find a single banking product which exceeds the expectations in terms of UX experience or anything else as compared to a similar fintech product in the same category, right? Nowhere across the world. So that's one thing which is becoming even more wider, that gap in itself, right? So that is where the value add comes in of building an infrastructure. I draw an analogy, and I'm sure you'll be familiar with this, of the whole AWS for banking analogy, right? Where essentially the banks, and not just the banks, by the way. I mean, when I say bank, it means legacy financial institutions, right? So all the legacy financial institutions will become, kind of like data centers or like these static, resources which only do compliance, auditing, custody, which is what they're good at, right? While the entire front end, both in terms of B2B software as well as the B2C software, will be done by someone else, right? So that's the future in such, and yeah, that's where we are.
Thanks, Rohit. And this essentially brings us to that classic struggle which happens between a fintech and a bank, which is to say that there will always be possibly three scenarios wherein the fintech is large enough and it doesn't want to talk to a bank, and a bank is large enough, it doesn't want to talk to a fintech. Then you have a fintech which is somewhere in between and a bank which is somewhere in between. Both of them talk and reach nowhere in between. And then there is a fintech which is nowhere and there is a bank which is nowhere. And when both of them come together, they in any case don't go anywhere. So somewhere people who build infrastructure like you and like Cashfree and others, they essentially add value to that chain by bringing the ecosystem together. So Abhishek, somewhere over a period of years, you not just essentially from a Paytm standpoint, not just kind of provided infrastructure to direct consumer. After becoming bank, you essentially also started working closely with the consumer from multiple other solution standpoint, which is not just essentially restricted to payments infra. While being a payments bank, it's largely from a payment lens point of view, but also when in past, it's essentially whether it is a Paytm Money or many other solutions which came in, they essentially started offering customer an end-to-end experience which is much beyond the basic infra as such. So what essentially transpires in a large institution's mind when it is going to a consumer and when it is upping the ante from just transaction to moving up the value chain to a fee income product and so on and so forth, and what kind of infra journey that it sees in that process?
So I think in context, some of this also comes from perspective. I think the starting point for us was that we were in the mobile or internet ecosystem space. You were acquiring customers basis payments as a hook, and with payments where margins are almost next to zero, what are the adjacent areas you would want to serve? We were lucky that we were early in the stage, and we were able to build a larger moat in terms of possibly an ecosystem, which today becomes even more difficult as newer players enter. So we were able to build an ecosystem around payments, commerce, and commerce is both online, offline kind of commerce, and then financial services. So it's a combination of all of this. The customer remains the same, so your CAC is getting spread across multiple business lines and you're trying to cover the area. Obviously, what is our strength becomes your weakness as well. When you have customers and you have merchants, what all do you want to get into? And this is something which Vijay keeps talking about, the fact that there was a time when we wanted to offer movie tickets or travel, and the big players in the market, if you go back to them, they wanted monetization. So we had to build it on ourselves. So when it was not something which was a choice for a lot of the business line items, where preferably we would have gone for partnership. And I'm sure a lot of players today would have wanted something similar to do, and where we would have today told them, no, it doesn't make sense for us, or it doesn't fit our plan in that sense. So I know for a lot of smaller banks who reached out to us saying that, why don't you give us your digital banking suite and we'll just take it, color it, or just package it and give it. Initially we thought, yeah, it's a great idea, we should do it, but then we realized that our systems are not built to be able to cater to some of these financial services companies. We have too many things on our plate right now to say that, okay, we'll become the digital banking guru for all the cooperative banks. I'm just hypothetically saying, I'm not saying we were thinking of or doing it, but these were possible revenue line items which could have been done. But
बिल्कुल ऐसा, सॉरी मैं बीच बीच में अपन खेलते रहेंगे शायद शब्दों के साथ, कि अगर शायद ऐसा करते तो बढ़िया रहता फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू यार, मतलब
करने को बढ़िया लगता है, लेकिन and I know I've been personally involved in some of these conversations, but it's a question of where do you want to use your bandwidth. You're always choked for bandwidth, and you're all so there are some players and there are players on this
90,000 अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव और दूसरे जो बैंक हैं, उन गरीबों का भला हो जाता अगर उनकी डिजिटल जर्नी का एनेबलमेंट डिजिटल स्टैक से हो जाता. सो समवेयर ऑब्वियसली मतलब
मैं आपको इसका प्राइम एग्जांपल बताता हूं कि यूपीआई जो आज की डेट में बिल्कुल वो है. अब यूपीआई वी वेंट विद अ पार्टनर, टेक्नोलॉजी सर्विस प्रोवाइडर. वी टुक द यूपीआई प्लेटफॉर्म फ्रॉम देम. We realized this is just not happening. We then had to build our own one. So our success rate or our declines on UPI are so low because we created one on our own. The issue is that we've created one on our own. Can I go and give this to HDFC, and will HDFC consider this as a technology product, or will they worry about the fact that Paytm kar raha hai and what will happen to my data XYZ, while all of these things can be taken care of. Now, should I be hiring a sales team and creating a separate technology company, offering this UPI tech stack, which we are using, and monetize it and give it to every bank in this country which is suffering from, all the transactions hitting the CBS. So, on one side, it is very easy and very great when you talk internally कि यार इसको monetize कर देते हैं. And at the same time, I think there is space for companies like Cashfree who are there on the call to be able to create something which and there is focus on one line item, go deep into it. So now I'll go back to your initial question in terms of what is your journey. One is what to prioritize on, what to focus on. Energies, resources are always limited. You have $1 billion in your bank account doesn't mean that you'll be able to hire 1,000 engineers and be able to fight out every possible market. It's a constant challenge for somebody like us. We can't sleep because there is some small company which is doing extremely well deep into one segment and possibly serving our customer in a much better manner. That's one big piece. The second one is scalability. Build versus buy. Do you build everything on your own, or you buy something which cannot be scaled? Because for us, everything is at big scale. The third one we realized was that some of our technology is now getting used in, for example, Japan, PayPay, or some of the other places. And what are our aspirations? How, whatever our structure is it platform ready, or will need full round of change, assuming we take some of this outside India or within India? The third one is that, how compliant is it? What is the structure of compliance? Because at one level, we deal with SEBI, RBI, IRDA. These are three regulators we are already working with, because there is insurance broking, there is Paytm Money, there is bank, there is now the payment gateway business coming under RBI. So how is it from a compliance control perspective? And very importantly, the entire fraud, identity, authentication. So compliance, identity, authentication, fraud, all of those things also form part of it. So I think it's a multi-layered conversation, not the easiest one.
So सबसे अच्छी, I think the best part about these multi-layered conversation is that there is always something which somewhere moves out of the value chain, and then you get a cash free. So I remember Reju, I think he wrote to me around 3 years or 3.5, 4 years back sometime, and he had written to me कि भाई हम लोग ये करना चाहते हैं, and he had written, and I think cash free was coming up with its first report at that point of time, and he had sent to me that report stating कि हम लोग कुछ चीजें करेंगे, and it was, and when I was looking at that, it was interesting and exciting, and the first question which always comes to your mind कि यार ये जो larger player है वो क्यों नहीं कर रहा है? Of course there are enough and more things on the plate of a larger player, and that's where essentially somebody comes and says कि भाई आकाश बहुत ऊंचा है और दूर बहुत हैं तारे. ये एक जब मतलब आकाश, आई एम नॉट श्योर इफ यू आर बॉर्न, बट हम लोग जब छोटे थे, मैं और अरुण साहब जब छोटे रहे होंगे, तब एक आता था अंतरिक्ष, एक कार्यक्रम आता था दूरदर्शन पे, उसमें ये लाइन आती थी शुरू में कि आकाश बहुत ऊंचा है और दूर बहुत हैं तारे. सो आकाश, फ्रॉम अ कैश फ्री पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, how did you essentially come across the opportunity and decided that payments infra from an AR or AP point of view is what you intend to build? And did you, and I'm sure you would have got this question asked infinite number of times initially, जब तक वो शुरू का VC कन्विंस नहीं हो रहा होता है कि यार ये तो यार पेटीएम भी कर लेगा यार, ये तो हर्षल माथुर और शशांक दोनों ही कर लेंगे यार, तो कैसे?
Yeah, thanks, Abhishek. See, what you mentioned is very correct. I mean, we can start with this. Right? You look at the global market, right? I mean, there are enough payment companies, right, both in public and private market, valued at more than 50 billion. Right? They're just doing payments, right? So I don't think it's very fair to say margin payments is next to nil, right? It's just that you have to constantly try to make it more efficient, easy for the end user, and you can always make money. This is what Cashfree has been doing, right? I mean, if you're able to make 100 CR in a year just on B2B payments, then I'm sure other guys can also do. Right, I get the point with Arun that in B2C payments it's pretty hard right now. In B2B payments, I still feel there is a good scope. But market is growing pretty fast. Every month we see up to 4K, 5K merchants coming to the online space, and also offline merchants are trying to adopt digital payments. Right? See, I mean, in the last 4-5 years we have been just trying out. People were just experimenting whether I can do digital or not. Now they're convinced. Now they feel the customers are asking for better experience. They're willing to invest in the technology. They're willing to invest in the service which we can give to the end customer. That's where the opportunity still lies, right? And with this increasing sophistication in the market, payments is not same for every vertical, right? You take example for insurance. The requirement of payments in insurance is different than requiring payments in e-commerce. Right? I'll just do a very small comparison. Right? Let's take e-commerce and NBFC. Right? In e-commerce, if your e-commerce is a like discretionary purchase, right? If you're trying to make a payment and for some reason it fails, I mean, and it's okay for you, right? You can wait for the payment to come back after a day and you can make a repurchase again. But if you're trying to repay your loan at NBFC on the last day and for some reason your account gets debited and NBFC doesn't retrieve the money, right? First is that you will get penalized, right? Second is, I mean, your money will get stuck. Third is you live in anxiety, right? As an end customer. Right. So now we are trying to contextualizing the payments, right? For this segment, what should be the best consumer experience, right? And there are like 10 such segments which are large enough, where we still have to go and optimize. Right? Payments for that work for a bill payment company, an e-commerce payment company, cannot work for a company who is doing, export payments. Cannot work for a company who is doing a on-demand, service to the user. So we have to start contextualizing things, then try to build services on top of vanilla payment, right? Vanilla payment is old in India, right? Where I'm punching the card and, like it's going to the bank and coming with a confirmation, right? The vanilla payment market is gone. Right? You have to build a lot of layering towards the experience, and that's where the value is. If you're able to help businesses save time, if you're able to increase trust of the customer on the business, right? Then you can always go and charge something to the businesses, and that's where Cashfree is like increasing the bar.
No, I agreed completely. And contextualizing payments is something which I am in complete agreement with. And frankly, I think in 2006-07, while I was still with ICICI and we were building payment-led solutions for specific verticals. We were building something for transport, we were building something for gems and jewelry, and each one had its own nuances. And then if you are in a position to top that payment solution with, segment specific ERP, then possibly you add greater value to that layer. So complete agreement on that, yeah, completely. And Anand, when all of these essentially infra come into picture and they essentially contextualize things, how are you observing the payment infra evolving in the Southeast Asian environment? And is there anything which is a specific that you can call out in that environment?
So this is a very interesting question. There are many other countries like Malaysia and few others who are trying to replicate the UPI part, which we are doing internally. So they are really looking forward to those UPI or similar technologies getting implemented in Southeast Asia. But one of the things from an Indian perspective also, so one key factor that I've seen in the Indian market is digital literacy. So what I mean is that if you take the example of video KYC, and since we mentioned about identity also, the banks have gone for digital transformation and they have implemented those video KYC solutions. But the end consumer has not gone ahead for that. So what is happening is that the solutions have gone live with banks, but the digital literacy at the end consumer level is not that much for different reasons. Probably as easy as the Aadhaar is not linked to mobile, Aadhaar XML journey is extremely cumbersome and so on. So
यार आधार वाधार तो मतलब फिर भी ठीक है, लेकिन मतलब there are so many specific things इसमें इतनी हैं कि almost around 1.5 years back I was on specific request I went to a place close to Chennai. And they asked me that we have created this Dasu Fadu mobile payment app, and can you just go and have a look at it? This is NABARD. NABARD had made an app for district credit cooperative banks. I went there, I had a look at that application, and the biggest crap in that application was that in the village near Chennai, which was approximately 80 kilometers away from Chennai, Mahabalipuram ke paas mein, this app which was rolled out by a district credit cooperative bank was in English and not even in Tamil. The biggest challenge which most of us face when we move out at a Chennai airport is to give directions to our driver कि boss यहाँ आना है, वो वहाँ नहीं पहुँचा पाते हैं, और they created a mobile payment app for people in Tamil Nadu in English rather than in Tamil. So yep, in agreement with you. Please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you mentioned about Southeast Asia, and they have large companies like Grab and Gojek, and they are in almost 300 cities, and every city is different as compared to Ola and Paytm and similar companies expanding in India, where there is some sort of homogeneity, especially in English. But of course, I understand the language problem also. But in Southeast Asia, it's like every country has a different political system, different language, different mechanism, and so on. So there, the problem is even much larger.
Yep. And you talked about digital literacy and KYC associated with that. Kumar, when we met in Delhi and we were talking about image and the way image is essentially processed or captured by a consumer, even from an Envoyed point of view, do you see that image-led literacy or KYC playing its role in that has its own significance as such? Because at times, just the way you want the right image is possibly not there. So what is the gap in a visual or a video KYC led processes, which essentially somewhere at times hamper the onboarding experience for a customer, whether it's for a payment transaction or any other transaction afterwards, and what can be done from a fraud, data, or otherwise analytics point of view to create a better onboarding experience for the customer?
I mean, I remember our conversation, and even right now while you guys were discussing, one thing is very important in a country like India or maybe even Southeast Asia is that contextualizing experience for the kind of customers that you're targeting is very important. So I mean, if it's language or how you're taking the image, all of those things matter a lot. So you can't have a standard like a video KYC solution for all kind of customers or all geographies, right? That will definitely fail. And we've seen that the success rates have gone as low as 20% when you don't give thought to how you're implementing the solution and you just put a blanket solution and you hope it works. So that's extremely important. If you're, let's say, working with a target, so we work a lot down south where we have a lot of companies working there. So there the experience that we offer to the customers is way different than if you would work with a company who's targeting, let's say, clients from Delhi or Bangalore, right? So that's very important. Secondly, on the visual perspective, that's extremely correct. So the first leg of implementing, let's say, a visual selfie or a video KYC solution is to just get it implemented. But then the layer of data analytics or understanding the user who's getting verified is very important, and that's where analytics and understanding their financial information is very, very important. So like Akash mentioned that financial analytics and data analytics will play a key role going ahead, because vanilla systems are becoming very standardized, APIs are becoming very standardized, commoditized. We need to build that experience for the user that will help them get access to financial services quickly. And I feel there are three pillars that are very important here. One is that the consumers, they want a seamless sort of experience where they don't want a lot of friction. The second is that businesses want low drop-offs and genuine users and access. And then again, the aspect of government is there where they want compliance and regulations. So I mean, going ahead, these three things have to work in tandem for the entire system to work. They can't work in silos. I mean, you can't design a perfect experience and expect there to be no frauds. So everything has to work in tandem for it to work when you're implementing, let's say, identity or even payments in current.
ये जो टेंडम में चलाने वाला काम होता है रोहित, ये बेसिकली आप जो है वो, इफ आई पुट यू दैट वे, दैट यू आर वो आत्मा भरने का काम करते हो आप, जो आप इन लोगों को आत्मा देते हो। और टेंडम में जब जैसे स्काई डाइविंग अगर कुछ लोगों ने करी है तो वो जानते हैं कि टेंडम में भाई साहब जो है जो पीछे पकड़ा हुआ है, आप अपनी जिंदगी उस पर कुर्बान कर देते हैं कि बॉस तू ही है। सो बेसिकली चूंकि रोहित आप उन लोगों में से हो जो कि लोगों को मोटिवेट करते हैं और इतना भरोसा देते हैं कि कूद जा बेटा, मैं हूं पीछे, which is the API infra. So in that scheme of things, and when you are providing that infra to somebody to essentially believe in you कि कूद जा बेटा, in that scheme of things, I think the biggest confidence somebody essentially needs to find is the fact that while at the back end, essentially at the bank's end, the infra will keep on updating and upgrading, they need not essentially revisit and realign themselves every point of time because they are connected with you in that chain. How do you essentially achieve that as a process?
Yeah. No, I think a great point, Abhishek, and बहुत सही तरीके से describe किया आपने. Like I have to say that, it's like analogy is perfect. It is a hard job. It's not an easy job, right? You essentially are taking the hardest part of building a fintech away from the fintech, right? So you're making sure that the banking integration, right, the tech side and the business side, right, stays with you and it stays working, it stays in sync with the regulation, with the new changes on the tech, be it anything, right? It's not easy for sure. But then the good thing is, since it is difficult, right, you build enough confidence by doing it successfully once so that the customer relies on you forever for that, right? Because nobody wants to take the hard job, right? So everybody's like, it's like that psychological thing, right? Your mind does not even think about it because it is so hard. And Paul Graham has an amazing term for that, actually. It's called Schlepp's paradox. Sorry, Schlepp's weakness. So that's one thing which we take care of. Even though it's hard, we align the team for that hardness, upfront. That's one. And second is, you want to make sure that you're not just bridging the gap, right? You're not just passing data, as Akash mentioned, right? You're also adding value by the insights of data analytics, as well as the few modules that you have. Right? So say, for example, if you're doing XYZ, can you combine X and Y to create a better solution than just X and Y alone, right? Where 1 + 1 becomes more than 2, right? So that's the key thing which we drive towards, and eventually the customer really warms up to that, and that's happening across the world as well.
No, that makes sense. And Abhishek, yes, Pragatan sir, please do chime in on what you want to say. Over to you. Yeah.
So I had two things. One, there was this conversation about video KYC. I'm just wanted to add this interesting piece. 40% of our KYCs today has gone to video KYC. Video KYC, we keep talking about, how this is great. We went out with partners in the market, system is not in a position to scale. So one of the feedback which and there is this constant talk, and the conversation started with fintech versus banks and what banks are not capable of doing. There is also need for introspection at the fintech level as well, in terms of the ability to scale and ability to serve. This particular piece about fintechs being more cooler than the banks has to also be looked at the fact that banks are predominantly looking at improving from where they are currently. They're not going to reimagine or redefine everything, because just by improving whatever they're doing, they make more money. They have their different stakeholders to deal with, and the customer is not leaving them. The customer, after all of this talk, the customer is still with them. At the other end of the world, the fintechs, reason for existence is to reimagine something. Now, in this particular piece of video KYC, it's a huge opportunity in the last 1 year. Every bank, every financial institution has gone there. But, trust me, most systems are not scalable, are not working. We ourselves had to create now an in-house solution, which is not the original interest of doing it on our own. But because this becomes center of plate, and we've moved from biometric KYC, which was our preferred mode earlier, to video KYC, and there is no system in the market which is currently really, and you could talk to any bank. Every bank has gone live with it, but none of the banks are happy with the success rates. Success rates are under 50% for most in the market. So this is something that people should look at the fact that it's fancy. So that's one comment I have.
अभिषेक, इसमें एक सेकंड और मैं शायद ट्राई टू एक अगेन मेरे कभी ऐसा नहीं लगता कि यार इन योर सिचुएशन इन पेटीएम पेमेंट्स बैंक योर सिचुएशन इज लाइक दिस कि ये उस आदमी की सिचुएशन है जिसकी शादी होने वाली है और वो अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड को नहीं छोड़ पा रहा है, which is to say कि you are somewhere in the middle, you are fintech at the core दिल से, but you have kind of become a bank, उसमें आधा टाइप का बैंक बचे हैं. So एक को गाली भी नहीं दे सकते क्योंकि उसके पास जिंदगी भर रहे हैं, और दूसरे के पास अभी फुल्ली गए नहीं है तो उसको फुल्ली अप्रिशिएट नहीं कर सकते. तो कभी कभी लगता नहीं कि चैलेंज होता है?
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. हम एक इसको हमारे स्टार्टिंग ये है कि हम आरबीआई को खुदा मानते हैं पहले. लिया उनके गाइडलाइंस के अंदर हम क्या चीज डिफरेंटली कर सकते हैं. ये जरूर होता है कि ऑन एन एवरीडे बेसिस देयर इज दिस इशू दैट शुड वी रीइमेजिन इट कंप्लीटली लाइक व्हाट वी यूज्ड टू, or should we go with the easier conservative, because there is risk compliance and a lot of things, should we go with an easier conservative view? If we go with a conservative view, it doesn't mean that the impact on the consumer start reflecting very fast, because you're making money. Customer money is there with you. You have now respectability, you have a bank, and so on and so forth. But what you do realize is that if you do something and you reimagine something, the customer feedback in terms of actual business starts appearing in a couple of months. So, both sides you have to look at it, and in each organization there are people from both parties. You have to find your way in between that. We are actually lucky that we are not a universal bank today. If we were a universal bank today, maybe lending, maybe doing everything, we would have probably been not so worried about all of these things, because most banks, you have to do something wrong not to make money. It's not very difficult to make money because the license allows you to do a lot of things. Fintech companies by their very nature are constrained. So irrespective of, I've been a great fan of Akash in terms of the work they've done on payouts in the last couple of years, and he did talk about they're profitable. All of that is great. But the fact of the matter is that the pipes which they're using is coming from the bank. If their pipes are not great, so Akash at the best is optimizing between bank A and bank B and bank C in terms of which pipe to use to serve his end customer. But if all three banks' pipes go down or something goes wrong and they don't invest in it, because their digital banking unit says that by investing more in the infrastructure, UPI and रुपए में पैसे तो बनते नहीं है, तो और इन्वेस्ट ना करें या कम कर लें, इस साल का PNL में प्रॉफिट ज्यादा बढ़ा दें, then his best of software sitting on top of it will have a set of challenges. So I think that's where some of the other elements also come into picture. and
So I'll take your points to both Akash and Kumar एक एक करके. So Kumar पहले आपको what Abhishek is saying कि यार तुम खूबसूरत तो हो but इतने खूबसूरत नहीं कि तुम्हारे से जो है निकाह नामा पढ़ लिया जाए. तो मतलब वीडियो केवाईसी में इतनी क्या जिंदगी में दिक्कतें हैं भाई? मतलब what is the challenge?
Now, I mean, we have like a conflicted opinion here where, I mean, to a certain extent, I agree with Abhishek on the fact that video KYC in itself is a very complicated system, not in the nature of the software that is there, but how it is getting implemented, right? There is requirement of like agents which have to be from, let's say, Paytm's agents who are getting on the call, and then there's the technology piece that is there. So the regulation, let's say, which I mean, RBI, who they came about, they wanted everything to be in that mechanism, and there was no collaborative testing that happened before, deploying these systems as well. And I completely agree. And I mentioned myself only that most companies are getting an automation rate which is less than 50% when it comes to a video-based solution, because you have to schedule a video call with the customer, and then you have customers coming in from tier 2, tier 3 cities who have never been on video calls. Like Anand mentioned, there has to be digital literacy also before, let's say, getting onto the system. So I would, urge Abhishek to do we can probably do a collaborative effort here and then build the solution rather than sort of having a sort of one vendor deploy it and then test it, because it's a new product and you can't expect it to work in the first attempt as effectively, let's say, as a digital method would, where it's just one way and the customer is doing the systems or doing the process. So that's my view. And again, I mean, with Paytm's kind of diverse audience, there has to be different kinds of modules in video KYC as well. It can't be a standard blanket product that can be deployed across the different DGs that you're serving. Sure.
बिल्कुल. So आकाश बाबू भाई अभिषेक कह रहा है कि मरने के बाद ही स्वर्ग मिलेगा, और वो तीनों पाइप तभी काम करेंगे कि जब वो स्वर्ग की प्राप्ति होगी. तो स्वर्ग तो है नहीं, ना तो आपने देखा ना हमने देखा. तो फिर आप कैसे, हाउ डू यू टेक योर कस्टमर स्वर्ग के दरवाजे तक कैसे ले जाते हो? मतलब हाउ यू इंश्योर दैट?
Shant, there are few things to consider, right? When you talk about fintech as a whole, so fintech is built by people who have license, who are regulated in the first place, right? You can't be independent of them. I mean, no one can be, right? And that's the truth of the fact. You have to consider that perimeter. Yep. Even though I'm acquiring a customer, or say, I'm using my Paytm app to pay GPay shop kirana. But even though my Paytm app is working, but the GPay, ID of that guy is not working, I cannot send money to that guy, right? So you can optimize a lot at your end, but if the other guy is not well optimized, then you still stuck, right? So the intent here is to, as I said, right? Intent here is to, how do we own most of the technology, right? I'm sure we will continue to use banks, but how do we reduce things on the back? How do we become more predictable? And how do we start putting our own technology inside banks, right? That is the right way for a fintech to move forward. Right? Banks come with their own ability and potential, and they also have their own prioritization. Right? So fintech should, prioritize their stuff. If banks are, unwilling to put more money in those areas, then fintech should go and collaborate with them, saying, instead of you, I'm going to do it for you. Right? Let me use it. Right? This way, it's win-win for both. Right? I mean, I'm going to use your license, I'm going to use your account, but end of the day, I'm using my own technology. So this way we can reduce dependency on them, and this is what people have done in the card acquiring space, right? When you process a card transaction, right, you touch bank at a very minimal place, right? It's at the CVS level, right? But you can't get rid of CVS, right? Because that's the ledger management of the customer, right? Other alternative is you create your own flow system, like create your own wallet, everything will work very predictable, right? But then again, it reduces the scalability for you.
Yep. And last remarks from Rohit and Anand. So Rohit, as you would have, as we observed this entire conversation, essentially somewhere it boils down to a bank having right kind of pieces, but you, as what Akash also talked about, that you need to optimize things at multiple levels, and one of them being partnering with right kind of institutions and also doing certain things with them. What is your final remark on that, and how should it be built forward for future?
Right. Yeah, no, I think you're right, absolutely right. One is, as we discussed, right, so the banks are playing on the playing field that RBI has prepared for them. Right, it's as simple as that. So, if RBI were to open up today, you will find half of the smaller banks running for the hills. The neobanks will displace them like anything, right? But of course, like that is happening or not from an RBI perspective is a whole different debate altogether, and there are reasons why it's not happening, and we know about that as well. But yes, the only reason why the banks, the only place where banks have an advantage for playing field has been the license, and everything is built on top of it, right? And for sure, no doubt about that, they're profitable, they're great serving institutions, and they're in the benefit of the country, all that stuff, right? But yes, when it comes to like partnering and creating that large ecosystem, right? When I look at the future, which we discuss on the BaaS or the embedded side, where pretty much every company becomes, a serving point for a fintech product, where you are able to get a loan wherever you want, credit card whenever you want, all that stuff. For that to do, you will need all these three layers. You cannot do away with a bank. You need a regulated institution at the end of the day. Then you need, someone like Cashfree or Decentro to come in between, and then, the ultimate customer-facing company, to be the customer side and build that entire UX, which is their strong point. Yeah.
Yep. Anand, last point from your side.
Yeah, absolutely. So, from an India perspective, I was reading a report, and by 2025, around 200 million people will be new to credit. So I see that a lot of opportunity for banks and NBFCs to lend to these new people who are coming into the system. I see that we kind of emulating Southeast Asia in certain ways, the digital banking license in Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and many other countries. So somehow we see that in the next 2 to 3 years, the fully digital banking license will come in India, and surely the video KYC will work on all these platforms, and we'll be able to onboard 200 million people new to credit. And we are also one of the participants in the video KYC market, so happy to work on that front also.
Sure. Thanks, Anand, and thanks a lot to all of you. And API infra की journey जो है, it's a long journey, and I'm sure we'll keep on progressing, building payments infra on top of everything else. कुछ समय पहले, मतलब around 50-60 साल पहले, रामधारी सिंह दिनकर ने कुछ लाइनें लिखी थी, तो वो बोलते जाता हूँ, उससे शायद जो संघर्ष है API इंफ्रा वालों का, वो शायद ज्यादा समझ में आएगा. वो लाइनें कुछ ऐसे जाती हैं कि पीकर जिनकी लाल शिखाएं उगल रही 100 लपट दिशाएं, जिनके सिंहनाद से सहमी धरती रही अभी तक डोल, कलम आज उनकी जय बोल. सो कलम आप लोगों की जय बोलेगी आने वाले समय में पक्के से. कुछ की अभी बोल रही है, आपकी भी बोलेगी. हम चर्चा करेंगे आगे अगले किसी मंच पे. Thanks a lot, and thanks Gerald. Thanks to everyone else for joining the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.